Oh man, I kind of want to keep that intro screen on a little bit longer. Because, you know, how many more times are we going to use it? Hello everybody, welcome to another video. It's been, what, a month since the last, maybe even more than that, since the last episode of this series. There is a bomb to talk about, a hell of a lot, because, I mean, for anyone who maybe is watching this off in the future, the next expansion has now been announced, and the first trailer and so on, so it's called the Janthir Wilds, and it looks really good to me. So, there's so much to talk about. I think since the last part, I can't actually remember exactly what we covered in this series in the last part, but the third patch for Secrets of the Obscure is out. Did we already talk about this? I already beat it. No, we didn't talk about this yet. Okay, and I've already beaten it. Okay, so I now know the full Secrets of the Obscure story. And that's going to clean up a lot of this commentary, let me tell you. A lot of it. Because so much of the previous parts have been me saying to you guys in the live chat or to you guys in the comments, I wonder if this will be any good. This is good if. This is bad if. You know, basically all revolving around Paitha as a character and what she ends up doing. So let's just be very clear here. I'm on one of these story steps where we have to do events. So let's do this event that's right here. If we can tag this before I go off on some epic, massive, long rant, it might be good. So yeah, it's been a little while since an episode of this. It's not actually that I haven't been playing Guild Wars. I've played a good amount of it, but I've pretty much entirely been doing like strike mission, raid style stuff. You can see I got a title at the moment, the Legendary Conqueror of Ceres. So right now in the story, we are finishing patch 2 of 3. So when patch 2 came out, I think, yeah, so with patch 2, they released the Ceres CM mode and then the Ultimate LM mode, which basically, me and a bunch of, the Spud group that cleared HTCM, we got together this year to do Ceres. And we progged on it for ages. Now, unfortunately, people's lives basically got very, very busy. People going on holiday, people visiting families, you know, just really tight schedules. The schedule was a bitch, so that the group kind of fell apart, to be honest, a couple of weeks ago. We are still technically together. In fact, right before putting this stream up, some of us were talking about, hey, are we maybe going to do a run? So it's still like, oh, by the way, I'm running Staff, one of the, obviously, Secrets of the Obscure weapons. I feel like I should play with the Secrets of the Obscure weapons at least a little bit, because with the new Janthir news, revealing a whole new set, and I'm still not even completely familiar with everything that happened with the previous ones. The downside to Staff, of course, is it is a healing weapon on Warrior, so, you know, a bit like we saw in the last stream, it'll be a bit slow as we use the buttons, but hey, we can play with it at least. Yeah, so, anyway, the group was running less regularly, so basically, there's a really cool Discord, like a Discord dedicated to pugging Ceres, or finding groups for Ceres, and, basically, I just pugged it a few times. I ended up getting into basically a new static, and sort of got the kill over a few days. Really, it was quite nice actually. When you're doing daily prog, I think you can get a lot of progress in. So yeah, I ended up getting it. I got a lot to talk about with that, a lot. So you've got the CM, which is kind of interesting. You've got the LM, which has its own interesting elements, and then actually, I'm now progging with another group that's just sort of getting started. I don't know how it will go really, but the Super LM, the Embodiment of Sin title, which unfortunately doesn't have like a unique title color, and ArenaNet basically seemed to have messed up. And there's a lot of discussion. I got a lot of good footage. If you remember last year when I did HTCM, I don't remember. I think I did a video on the main channel about HTCM after I got the clear. I think it was really long, wasn't it? It was like nearly 2 hours of just talking about the fight. But like everything to do with the fight. I just put it all in one video. I might do that for this, but it's kind of 3 fights in one this time. In fact, it's kind of even more than that, because the mechanics innate to Ceres. I've just realised I don't have game audio on. The mechanics innate to Ceres. Or do I? Yeah, it's just a little bit quiet. Kind of mean that the fight itself is 3 fights. And then there's these 3 modes. So there's a lot to talk about with that. I think last year with HTCM as well, I did a follow-up video on my second channel on WoodenPotatoes 2. Actually, I'm rather ashamed to say, I think that was the last normal video, air quotes, that I have on WP2. WP2 used to be really active. Like, I'd make specific content for it, like achievements of the day, I think, was on there. Obviously, Game of the Day, the PvP series was on there. And then it was like lots of stream VODs. So when I've been into streaming on Twitch particularly, I would dump the VODs there. So like all of my Final Fantasy content is on there. So it's had periods where it's very active. Now though, because I do YouTube Live. Since I swapped to YouTube Live, it all just appears on the main channel. So WP2 has barely anything. I've done the occasional, like I did like Guild Wars 1 skill icon review on there. I did some soundtrack stuff. But basically, I've had almost no content on there, and I think HTCM was the last like dedicated video I made. There are, of course, these amazing login screens from Mr. Modius that you guys can check out. And Mr. Modius made the Isles of Janthir. Oh, what? Did that not count doing that event? Or do I need to do another one? Jesus. I guess we'll just stay in the south, because there's events around here. This is the only area of the map that I'm like super familiar with. So yeah, anyway, WP2's not had much. Maybe I'll put some Ceres stuff on WP2, but I don't really see the need for it. Anyway, I think it's a very different fight to
use your help with something.
HTCM. I think of HTCM as quite similar to Final Fantasy Ultimate, in that, you know, every phase is very different. It's like learning a new fight. And the difficulty really in HT is a bit artificial, really. It's more of like a checkpointing, saving kind of difficulty. And by that I mean like, okay, you can master the first phase, and now you just want to master the second phase, but you're like time gated, right? Because you have to go through the first phase again, and then you're time gated because you. And there's that to a certain extent on all fights, and you actually see in Final Fantasy they have like simulation software that lets you practice later phases without. Like, they'll simulate the whole goddamn game without you even having to play, which, you know, it kind of feels like cheating in a way. I don't know whether I'll be able to solo this. My build's like so weird. We can get the evades from Bull's Rush to avoid that. And then a full counter on that. My problem is I don't really know where my heals are on staff. I'm not going to have many because I'm basically on a Berserker build. I need to absorb impact with the 5. I know that much. Ugh, this is brutal. This is really brutal. The problem is I've been playing a lot of Fallout 76 lately as well, and that game has fun buildcraft, but is really easy. Like everything dies in like 2 clicks. So then I come back and play like a more stimulating game, and suddenly, you know, like this is not my expectation of open world. Anyway, yeah, I can't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, just difficulty. Basically, HCCM is the difficulty almost feels a little bit arbitrary or false because you are just kind of waiting, and it's just this huge time gate. Ceres is kind of the same thing. I mean, I don't know whether I fully agree with what I'm saying, but you can get the fundamentals down very early in Ceres. It doesn't have like these very, very hardcore distinct phases. But it kind of maps out to just learning very specific positioning anyway. So at the end of the day, maybe they're quite similar. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing a lot of within Guild Wars. Have I been playing much of the story? No. In fact, so I beat this campaign story. And there's a meta that came out with the most recent patch, patch 3. A meta released, which presumably has some cool story. Has some mastery stuff going on. Has an area of the map. I've never done it. I've never been to the meta on this map. Never. I've been playing quite a lot of Guild Wars. This is the first time in the history of the game that they've actually released a new explorable area, and I haven't done it. And look, guys, I'm just going to be very honest. I'm just not that into it. My review of Secrets of the Obscure, okay, is this. That it had a reasonable opener. It was slightly below the bar of what I'd want. Okay, well, let's back up fully, okay? I would say that every single, in terms of like story quality, story length, that's a big thing. I'm going to put big bold around that, story length, right? And therefore the kind of depth you can get out of having a long story. A lengthy campaign and a decent world to explore. I would say every single Guild Wars 2 expansion that has ever happened, even the really good ones like POF, they've all disappointed me. They've all been below the bar. And that's because I come from Guild Wars 1, where I had shit like Factions and Nightfall, and even Eye of the North, which was way down in scope. You know, these places, it's a more primitive game with far fewer systems, right? I understand that the devs, it's way harder to do that content breadth now in a game like Guild Wars 2, because Guild Wars 1 was so primitive. But look, at the end of the day, Guild Wars 1 gave me a lot of stuff every expansion, or new campaign as they called it, right? And I get they're packaged differently. But that was my expectation. So I remember Heart of Thorns coming out and thinking, wow, that's it. 4 maps. It's just the jungle. And I remember playing the story of Heart of Thorns and thinking, oh my god, that's... This is crazy, by the way. Oh, I think we maybe... We have to be doing events in the Nedra surrounds. That's why it's not counting. So let's go do one of those. So all of them have disappointed me because I'm coming from Guild Wars 1. Okay. That said, I've accustomed... You know, you adjust. You get over it, all right? It's been years. It's been over a decade. Has it been over a decade since Heart of Thorns? Okay, there's a new paradigm. Either it's for you or it's not. So look, I'm over it. But just for the record, they've all been below the bar. So I'm over it. It's fine. I get it. So we have a new barometer, a new bar through which to judge and value Guild Wars 2 expansions, okay? Now, working from that level, I would say Secrets of the Obscure was slightly below the bar. That's what I'm going to say. It's massively below the bar for what I'd really want as a true gamer coming from Guild Wars 1 or whatever. But I think the original release of Secrets of the Obscure, slightly below the bar, but it was okay. They had a lot of really good lore, they had a lot of really good world building, the maps were alright, it was okay. So we're wobbling a bit, but I think it was an okay release. The patches, all this stuff that you're looking at here, this map, this has been awful. I've really not enjoyed this. And it's been really hard to make content about this, and you've seen the way that this goddamn Let's Play's been going. It's been really hard to make it because I don't want to sit here negative, whining, pissing, moaning all the time. But I really haven't enjoyed it. There has been like this one chance, this one hope that maybe it's okay because there's going to be a really cool like conclusion to the story. And it will be redeemed and all the back and forth and sneakiness and apparent depth will amount to something because of a brilliant end and because of, you know, what Pather will do or whatever. Maybe there's a really cool conclusion to this that will salvage it. And most of the episodes of this series that I've been doing, that's all we've been obsessed with. That's what we've been going on about. I'm here to tell you now that patch 3 is out and none of that happens. It's just a bad story, guys. This is a crap story. It's really not enjoyable. Again, the start of Secrets of the Obscure was alright, but all this stuff in the Demon Realm, it's too big of a scale. Shallow characters doing shallow things, an environment that's like vibe does not match with the kind of character writing and storytelling they're doing. Like literally, just as you know, we're in a demon realm. There's a certain fantasy people are looking for. They're looking for Diablo. They're looking for Doom. They're looking for Guild Wars 1 Domain of Anguish. They're looking for something gritty and edgy, and that's fine because we're in a demon realm, all right? On principle, maybe you're not an edgy teenager anymore, but, you know, if you're going to take people to a demon realm, that's kind of the vibe that you're going for. And right as I started this stream here today, I was standing next to some NPCs, like, giddy about the idea of, ooh, a Cryptis baby. I wonder what Cryptis babies look like. That's the kind of writing that Guild Wars 2 offers and has been doing, and they could have and should have done away with it because it doesn't match with the aesthetic of this place. But they didn't go... So there's a lot of problems that I have personally. Obviously, these aren't facts. This is just how I feel. I think it's crap. And I think that this story and this Let's Play that we're playing through here, you guys are going to see it's crap. So it's been really difficult for me to make content about this, especially when patch 3 came out a couple of weeks ago. Patch 3 came out, and I played it, and I just thought, how am I going to cover this in a way? Because, look, you got to understand, my audience, there's a lot of fair weather people watching that aren't really that into Guild Wars anymore, but they just sort of, they're a bit curious every now and then, and they'll be like, I mean, some of you guys might even be in chat right now. You'll be like, I wonder how Guild Wars is going. And what I don't want is every time someone's thinking that, because I am on Guild Wars' side, I am in Guild Wars' corner, right? I don't want people like that to click on some of my content and just see whiny, pissy bitch fests every time, you know? But I equally don't want to lie about how I feel the current game's going. So it's been hard. All right, now here's where the doom and gloom can end. What's been really refreshing the past couple of weeks is the new expansion's been announced. And look, you can call it hopium or self-delusion or whatever. But look, everything they've announced for the new expansion looks really exciting, and I like the idea of the story. And they've had their little retrospective post where they really didn't say very much, but they said some stuff, you know, and I've got hope, and I'm like, oh yeah, Guild Wars, and I'm excited. And suddenly now, okay, so I've been saying something, but not been feeling it, okay? So what I've been saying, there we go, we actually finished that bit of the story now. What I've been saying recently is, look, Secrets of the Obscure might be a bit weak, but it's mini X packs. What you guys have got to realize is they're going to come fast and thick, okay? Every fucking year, a new mini X pack. Like, that's actually big. That's fast content. That's regular content. That's well-paced content. You've had all those communications from Grouch and the studio where they've been saying, you know, like, but we haven't got to live it yet. So there's been a lot of, like, I mean, you guys know how nerds can be. For me, I tend to think if you don't have anything nice to say, try not to say anything at all. You know how, like, weirdly obsessive nerds can be. So when they start disliking the game, they get really, really obsessed and wrapped up with it. And I sort of think you should just play another game for a little while, right? But what I think a lot of those people that really fell into, like, the doom spiral don't get is that yearly X-Packs are big. Now, I've been saying that for a while. Yearly X-Packs are big. Not totally feeling it, but I understand the logic of it. Now, since the announcements of the Janthir Wilds, I am feeling it. Because, look, things are a little bit more in perspective now. Secret of the Obscure is kind of bad. I can sit here openly and say it's bad. But it doesn't really matter much, because it was only 1 year of Guild Wars 2's life. Right, it was a couple of patches in 1 year. We're moving on. They've done a retrospective. The next expansion looks better scoped than this one in terms of gameplay features. It looks like they've learned some lessons in terms of story stuff. Fairly exciting trailers and setting details so far. You know, we're moving on. It's not the end of the world that Secrets of the Obscure sucks, all right? I don't think anyone... So now I'm like, do you know what? It's fine. So basically, guys, here's what's going to happen here. Oh my god, is this the new meta happening now? Oh, this is going to be weird. Should I do it? No, I guess it's technically sequence breaking the story, so I won't do it. But this here, I've never done this. Never. That's the actual assault on Zakharos, right? I'm very curious to see that. So look, I'm not going to completely pan this. I'm sure there's good elements of it, and I haven't seen everything. And a part of the problem I have with Guild Wars at the moment is... I usually don't engage with media that I really like in a shallow way. I really like to get into it. And the problems happen, and for Guild Wars, it's been like that for me for years. You know, really got into Core, really got into Guild Wars 1, really got into Heart of Thorns. But the more the stories disappointed me in the style of storytelling, and the less I've been keen on that kind of stuff. So when it comes to, like, these patches, there's a lot of stuff I don't even know about them, to be honest. You know, and it's kind of like a problem that perpetuates itself, you know. What's the word? There's a word for that. What the hell is the phrase for that? But basically, it's like, you know, I'm not really enjoying it much, so I don't look too much deeper into it. So now I don't even see the deeper details. So now I don't like it even more. So, and, you know, and so on, we spiral. It's a very common phrase for that, which is slipping my mind right now. So anyway, there you go. So that's basically the state of things. As this Let's Play goes along, we're going to see why it's bad, and I can't really avoid spoilers, alright? So, look, I'm just going to be straight up here. I don't really believe there's a single person watching this that doesn't know the story and also cares. At the end of the day, if you care about this story, surely you've played it already. Surely. But I guess, spoiler warning, from now on, I'm going to be pretty open about where this is going. And I'm going to be open about this because what I want is a bit of back and forth with you guys in chat, where maybe I'm misguided or have the wrong idea about one thing or another. So you guys can actually explain to me. And what we'll see is if maybe it's a bit better than I've interpreted it as. But so here we go. So I'm just going to lay it out on the line. Here's what the story is going to be and where it's going to go, and we'll watch it unfold. You know, there's this whole thing, oh, is Paitha good? Is Paitha evil? Are we going to get betrayed? Is there some greater morality to what Eparch's been doing? Is there some secret facet to demon society that we just don't understand? Are the stakes of this story really as high? Remember that Secrets of the Obscure came out and said... Isgarin and the entire Wizards Court are on the power level that they could have been helping deal with the Elder Dragon threat. The fucking issue of the franchise. I will go that far, yeah, maybe some Guild Wars 1 campaigns, not fully, but the issue of the entire universe, really, as far as this... I'm using universe in like a canonical way there. Of this franchise, right, of this IP, the issue, the Elder Dragons, he could have helped in a major way and chose not to, because this conflict was more important. Alright, let's not forget that they did actually up the scales in that way. So it's a big deal if Paitha betrays us, right? It's a big deal. Like, how are we going to resolve this? They haven't resolved this for thousands of years. What is it, potentially even tens of thousands of years? I don't know the timeline exactly. It's a big deal. So where's it all going? Is the story going to be redeemed? None of that happens. Look, guys, it's just a really shallow... Ooh, we're going to take over the place from Eparch. And Eparch's a disappointing story boss. I think he comes back in the Fractal, which I haven't played, by the way. And you just sort of slap him about, and Paitha says, cool, I'm in charge now. And Isgarin says, cool. And it's just, it's just... Oh, it's shamefully shallow. But it talks about itself like there's interesting politics going on or nuance, and as far as I can see, and I'm being very rude and condemning about this story, but this is really how I interpret it. As far as I can see, there is nothing deep about it whatsoever, or interesting whatsoever. They just kind of hand-wave everything. And not in a way like, oh, this will be an issue later, in a way like, oh, we had our fairy tale ending. But they just don't look at any of the apparent contrivances or issues that were established in the story earlier. So I really think it's terrible. I think it's one of the lowest bars of storytelling I've ever seen in Guild Wars 2. For its execution, for its unoriginality, for its misaligned scope, just everything about it. I really don't like this story. So let's play. Force hand. Let's finish patch 2 at least. Hello, Ramses. For its forgettable characters.
You've reduced the local loyalists from a horde to a swarm. That should afford us the few minutes we'll require.
Lowering that barrier really kicked the beehive. Are you sure we'll have enough time?
It's only going to
I
get
got
worse,
coffee.
I'm
Nice.
afraid.
I forgot I made this.
Besides, the chance we'll even be allowed to speak to the General is slim at best. Should that happen, then yes, I believe we will have more than enough time for Paitha's proposal to be summarily rejected. Possibly even enough to retreat before this place is teeming with loyalists.
Pessimism doesn't suit you, Ramses.
Once you meet Nephis, I think you'll discover my pessimism to be realism. Come,
Will I?
whatever waits ahead. Be on your guard.
Like, what upsets me so much is, on the surface, what they're saying and doing, how they act the story is how I want the story to be. But you have to actually write. It's like they're giving me the Hungry Caterpillar, but they're writing about it like it's season 4 Game of Thrones, right? And it's like, it's not. This intrigue isn't here, you know? The caterpillar is hungry. That's it, man. That is it. In chat, Monster Girl ASMR says, way cooler story than Paitha betraying us would be Isgarin betraying Paitha and show up on Unias at the end and saying, now that the cryptids are weak, I will destroy. Okay, can I just say, on that note, right? Isgarin is awesome. Isgarin is what I want the story to be. And everything they write about him and how he acts, he is a great character. I love Isgarin. He is an all-round winner. He is a little bit of nuanced storytelling, a little bit of mature storytelling. He is a flawed but interesting character. Someone genuinely self-interested. He is written well. He is written believable. If the entire cast of this game was just a little bit more like Isgarin, I think it'd be fantastic. But yeah, so I will say that I like everything that happened with Isgarin in this story. I contend anyone to argue with me and chat about that. Not that he does much, but that's kind of the point, really, isn't it? Hello, Paitha.
Ah, there you are.
Hello.
Shall we?
Lead the way. What's your plan? Ramses thinks you'd have an easier time convincing a Marmox to fly.
I assure you, that is a gross oversimplification, my lady.
You're right to be concerned. Nephis will not be charmed or deceived. I aim to speak to him general to general, away from the influence of onlookers.
you were excited about Zodja, but then they went and wiped her memory. Like, wouldn't it have been better to just do that from the start so we could have more time to rediscover our relationship? Look, the Zodja thing is... I have a lot of sympathy for ArenaNet with the Zodja thing. I have a bit of a weird take with Zodja. I'll give it to you guys now. Zodja's a bitch. Alright, Zodja's not nice. She's a bit Isgarani, really. She's very self-interested. So, Zodja... Okay, first of all, Zodja is not consistent. She's kind of one way in Edge of Destiny. Then she's another way. She's actually kind of nice and sweet and friendly in the personal story. Like, she feels very editorialized and rewritten in the personal story. And I think that's because where she exists most in the personal story is the domestic aspects of it, where you're a new player and ArenaNet want you to be around characters you like. They want you to connect with the world and have a bit of magic and whimsy, and they want to keep it light. So Zodja's very nice in the personal story. But then when you get to the dungeon story, i.e. the actual bit about the Elder Dragons, where Zodja's main influence is, as far pre-Secrets of the Obscure, the dungeon storyline, she's a bitch again. She's not nice. She's... like, the whole story of the dungeons is getting the band back together again. And she's like the one that won't join you. She, like, even at the end of it, she's just still like, no, fuck you guys, I don't like you. And then at the end, there's the surprise. Oh, she's helped with the megalith cannon on the glory of Tyrion. She's great, and she's actually come and helped, right? But at the end, she's very abrasive and she's very cruel. She's not nice. I think the truest way to write Zodja is that she's not nice. Now, Zodja disappeared. I mean, yes, she had a very minor part in Heart of Thorns, right? But she basically disappeared for like a decade, okay? So, rewind the clock to just last year, before Secrets of the Obscure is out. You go on Reddit, you go on the official forums, you go on any stream chat, you go a place where discussion is happening, you come to the WoodenPotatoes Discord, you ask people about Zodja. They'll say, oh, I'd love to see Zodja again. But the thing that's happened is the community... Human nature is to sort of pave over the ugly bits and the bumpy bits, and to just be nostalgic and fondful, right? So, like, I seriously think if you rewind the clock a year ago and you ask people about Zodja, they'll be like, oh, she was great. And what's happening is people are forgetting that she was a bitch. They're ignoring the fact that she was a bit mean. And she was characteristic of the Asura, right? Like, that's where these things come from. But they kind of ignore those things, and they conflate just the feelings of positivity that she'd just be back. It would clearly be a cool thing for the story for a character to return. That would make me feel positive. So basically, what I'm trying to say is people kind of forgot that Zodja's not very nice. And the reality is, to actually bring true-to-life Zodja back to the story wouldn't be that pleasant. Everyone's like, oh, it'd be great to have Zodja back. Actually, kind of not. If you're going to write her properly, in my opinion, Zodja's kind of mean. It'd be another Bram situation, okay? And I think I'll give ArenaNet's writers the credit that they deserve. They're professionals in their field, right? I think they probably knew that. And they looked at, like, the way the community reacted with Bram. And that's a disaster, guys. It's actually a terrible idea to bring real Zodja back, because you have this huge gap. People are expecting to be happy about seeing her back, but she'd be kind of mean to you. Especially, I mean, if you're gonna be really true about it, she doesn't even fucking know the commander anymore. It's been 10 years. You're not friends. You're not buddy-buddy, right? You can replay the domestic personal story anytime you like. The reality is, she could easily give you the cold shoulder, not want anything to do with you, and just be a bit cruel, right? So that's the real Zodja. So, if I were ArenaNet, I would probably have thought of all that stuff and thought, well, how can... This is a disaster. How can we bring Zodja back and not do this? And therefore the Ascension idea happens, right? Let's bring her back, but mind wipe her. And we can skirt this issue. And I wonder if that might have been happening in the writer's room. I mean, maybe. But that's a way that they can sidestep, ostensibly. But obviously that has all of its own contaminating issues, such as the fact that we really got Zodja back at all.
Loyalists, step aside and we will allow you to live. Join the Lady Pathos cause and...
You are Pathos' army? Ha! Take this pretty one alive. Kill that ugly creature at his side.
How did I get Ceres LCM? I paid for it. I paid 20,000 golds. It was 2 max TP trades. No, I hit the boss. No, I was progging it. I talked a little bit about it at the start of this stream. And I will have a video out about it. The thing as well with Ceres is
Hold them off.
a lot of the
Royal
minutiae
Guard
that I
cannot be
know
right.
and would probably talk about right now with the regular fight, I'm now forgetting because the strat's different for Embodiment of Sin. So I really need to make that sooner rather than later. And I haven't. And look, I've been doing this stupid thing here, guys. I'm going to tell you a little thing about myself here, as far as YouTube's concerned. I've talked about this on the Discord. I've talked about, I'm sure, in sporadic videos every now and then. Here's another one for the pile. Look, I have this terrible, ridiculously unprofessional, idiotic thing I do.
Starting a war, I imagine. Die then, traitor!
Which is... So, look, I have FF6 going up. I have Zeus going up. I have something else ready to go up. I have loads of content for you all. You guys just sat through, like, what, 7 days or something without an upload. There's shit tons that I could be uploading. The reason I didn't upload anything is because I haven't done a Guild Wars video. Because I feel really obligated to do a Guild Wars video because we're in an expansion press cycle. And because, you know, I've got this Let's Play going on. And really, I needed to do a Guild Wars video, and I'm really scared of putting something else up.
Rebels,
And then people in the comments being like, oh, why are you doing this instead of the other thing, you know? It's not actually an instead of situation. But I think in my early days on YouTube, I had so many people coming at me so hard for doing anything that was non-Guild Wars. I'm really insecure about putting shit up unless there's also really good Guild Wars stuff going on at the same time. So, but then I've been putting off doing this because, you know, it's not a good story. So then everything stops, and it's ridiculous, and I'm sorry, and I shouldn't do that. But I promise you, you'll see plenty of other videos immediately after this stream's over because I will have satisfied the Guild Wars requirement.
The truth is all he will hear, and all I will offer.
Oh, wow, really?
Go further and tell us, great lady, what truth is that?
That you all will join us in battle now, or join us in death.
There are weapons you
If
can...
joining us in death is what you seek, step forward.
Hold, sister. We share the same house, as I hope we will share enemies on the battlefield.
Hope is worth little in these times, Panther, of House Nephis.
General!
General Nephis, you're in danger. It is the great lady who's in danger. I'm surprised you showed your horns here. Speak quickly, before Lamrus takes them as her trophy. I will not have yet another needless death on my conscience.
Your concern is appreciated, General, as always. But I cannot leave until you hear my proposal.
Cannot, or will not. No matter, they're your horns, whether attached to your pretty head or crushed to powder under Epoch's heel. Well, speak, child. Did you expect a private audience in my palace? This is not your uncle's great hall. We have no such comforts here.
No. No, you do not. You have little more than crumbling walls and the weapons in your hands. Walls that keep your enemies out. No. Walls that keep you cowering within, waiting in fear. Until the day Epoch calls your name, drags you from your pitiful home, hauls you to his citadel, bleeding like cattle, spits your bones onto the piled corpses of our brothers and sisters.
How dare they? General, the Loyalists, to arms!
Stand and fight! Wayfinder, Ramses, push them back!
Stand down! Do not engage! We will not draw the ire of Epoch!
Trying to not do damage, but also trying to not spit... Oh my god, that full counter. Wow. You never know when they'll stop speaking. Jesus. Do I get... This must all be healing power scaling on this, because it doesn't sustain me much. Yeah, okay, so there's an achievement, I think, to do this fight in, like, less than a minute.
General! appear to be at an impasse, and I see you hesitate to press us. Shall we parley?
I have no wish for wanton bloodshed, Majesty.
The barrier breaks, and we arrive to find you already harboring traitors. What is this if not a provocation to spill blood? General.
Epoch needs no provocation to spill blood. Only thirst.
My lady, let's maintain some decorum. Your Majesty, Lady Patha is an uninvited guest.
Nefas. Your king and queen know you and our loyal subjects do not seek to upset our delicate truce. We have spared you when we could have done otherwise. We recognize you have stayed your hand today. So, we offer you a deal. Turn the traitor and her creatures over to us, and we leave you to your own devices. Obstruct us in any way. I'm sure you're well aware of the consequences of disappointing your king.
Patha's presence here is unwanted, even feared.
I'm pleased we agree.
Feared because we all live in terror, at the mercy of the King's whims. Will he punish us, even for happenings out of our control?
Nefas, you overstep.
Uninvited she may be, but Patha is a guest nonetheless. Labris, it is you who oversteps. I will live in fear no longer. Epoch is not my king. Labris is not my queen. Majesty.
Circle, with me! Royal Guard, forward. Nefas dies. Anyone who stands with Nefas dies. Spare the rest.
We end up with an ally. I don't really know what I can rant or talk about here, because I think as soon as this is over in a second, there's going to be a mountain more dialogue. But we'll see. Sorry, there's a lot happening. There's a lot I want to respond to in chat at the moment. And there were also some things I wanted to say just about the instance in general. I think, by the way, that there's kind of a cool idea of a story here. If it's like all the demons underestimating the strength of the commander. Like, they're all so sure of the current power dynamics and who eats who and who's in control and so on. And then you throw the commander wildcard in there and it's like, oh shit, suddenly we have strength that we didn't realize. I think that would have been a really cool way to make the player feel quite badass. And there could have been a lot of really interesting scenes there. But nothing like that ever really happens in this story. And I'm not sure why. Maybe the devs just didn't think about that, or maybe it was like... because again, there's kind of this thing where it's like, wasn't this supposed to somewhat appeal to new players? Kind of like a fresh start? So I could potentially be doing this through the lens of someone who is not a commander at all, but that's not really true, because they write all that dialogue with it. I don't know. Damn, nearly 9k non-crit there. With like no might or anything. F1's just crazy. This is so satisfying to hit in PvP.
Thank you, General.
Yeah, more dialogue. We'll get to chat and stuff in a second. Keep your messages coming, guys. I'll go through them.
People, your people. Now their blood is on our hands. You left me no choice, and you knew it. Just like your brother, your uncle. They're plotting, scheming, always ending in misery. You owe our people. Your family owes us. Bring us something other than death.
He will come quickly. If for no other reason, then he sees that we must press our advantage while it still lingers. Soon we move. Be ready, Wayfinder. Labris burns with belief. Her flame will not be easily snuffed.
In retrospect, the Labris stuff is really weird. It's like a such a sidebar feeling section of the story, you know. I do, by the way, think, you know, I have sympathy to a certain degree, and like, I kind of think this story probably worked reasonably well if it all released day one, Secrets of the Obscure, right? If you played the whole thing, there was no chance to forget who these new characters were. There was no chance, you know, you just played it flat out. I think it'd probably be alright. But the stretching over a long period of time really hurt it. I don't know whether the devs should have a lot of sympathy for that or what, because at the end of the day, they're not new to Living World style storytelling. You know, they had fairly siloed, self-contained stories within Living World.
If there are any astral ward in the area,
saw the pains of
we've
doing
got
it other ways in
extractor
Season
towers
2.
here that we need to disable immediately.
Okay, so yeah, we got another instance. I think this is the end of patch 2 that we're going into now. And by the way, just to give you guys a sense of the scope of all this, patch 3, you know, which came out just the other day, is basically a small story instance, 3 adventures back to back, and then an instance. It's a very, very brief patch. Oh, and then it has quite a long outro sequence with a lot of talky. So we're actually quite near the end, I would say already. And yeah, okay, so Duncan there saying, I think they got better at not letting high DPS ruin their voice lines. You didn't have any issues. Yeah, that's true. I wasn't so concerned with that, as I just wanted to be able to talk during... I wanted a window to talk for myself. So I didn't want to do too much damage or whatever to just end the fight and therefore proc the next little bit, you know. Celestial Sword Harbinger, you know, I've barely played. This is the funny thing. Okay, so I've barely touched so few of the Secrets of the Obscure weapons. I mostly remember Sword from the beta. I bet it's fun, though, and I wouldn't be a downer on Celestial, depending on the type of player you are. You know, if you play a lot of story in open world, Celestial, someone called it a noob trap a second ago. That's not fair. It's not a noob trap. It's actually an incredibly potent, skilled attribute line to run if you're mainly just doing open world and story solo unassisted. If that's your jam, then, you know, it's really, really good. Very smooth, clean, fun gameplay. I would recommend it heartily. Obviously, it doesn't scale into the other modes that well. And you could say it gives you handlebars that you'd rather people not have when they start trying fractals and stuff, but I don't know. I like Selly. So yeah, there's a bunch of Secrets of the Obscure weapon stuff. And so what I've really been slacking off with this week is spears. So ArenaNet are currently, for the new expansion, they've announced spears. I've already done a video about this bit, but they've announced spears are the main weapon. And they're, like, revealing them. They're doing, like, 3 a week. And we're on week 2 at the moment. So 6 of the classes have had them revealed. I think Thief works just like Assassins from Guild Wars 1. There's a lot of, like, references and cool things. Warrior's got the full Paragon treatment. So it's kind of like a dream come true for me. There's a lot of cool stuff that I'm really excited about with the Janthir Wilds. The housing as well. Like I said, I've been playing so much Fallout 76 lately. And, the housing is so good. You know, you do an event. That game feels almost exactly like Guild Wars 2, by the way, in a lot of ways. Like, the way that its open world is structured with events, and you go there, and there's people there. And it's amazing how close to Guild Wars 2 it feels. It's amazing. And in that game, though, they have housing. It's a big part of it. And so it's like, you know, you do a meta event, right? And you get as loot a recipe, right? But they got loads of recipes so you can now craft a new decoration. And I think that would work so well. Like, I was talking to Carrie about this the other day. It would work so well transplanted into Guild Wars 2. The decorating stuff I'm very, very, very excited about. Of course, it looks mostly like they're just doing Guildhall style stuff, which... So we'll see how far they go with it. But, you know, I am excited. And, yeah, there's just so many weapons and skills to talk about. And the funny thing is, guys, I'm kind of being a bit lazy about covering the spear skills. It looks exciting. But the fact that I haven't even dug deep into the Secrets of the Obscure weapons... It probably tells you something about, like, I'm not that enthusiastic about... I don't know. I'm just not excited about making those videos. I'm just not... I don't know, the boots bad build era, or like balance with boots era, or like, I don't know, because I'm not PvPing, because the hardcore PvE in this game is so fucking narrow in what you can get away with, right? We're going to stack Scourges or Virtuosos, guys, woo! You know, it's not really, you know, I basically look at those weapons as, I wonder whether I'll get a bit more DPS at the moment. Like, I've got a terrible, terrible mindset with all that stuff at the moment. A really terrible one, you know. I've just gone through 10 years of Guild Wars 2 being excited about every little new skill that comes out. And I guess I'm just a little bit washed with it at the moment. So, I don't know. I was thinking, there have been multiple times over the past couple of weeks I've been thinking, you know, when they'd only announced 3 spears, I was thinking, I'll do a video on the 3 spears. But every time I was reading about it and looking at it, I was like, okay, what am I going to talk about with this? I just kind of felt a bit... Ugh. And now there's another one out, so I'll probably wait for all 3. Maybe do a highlight video. But I don't know, I'm just not excited about making a video about the spears. I am excited about the feature. But at the end of the day, from my perspective, I already have a bunch of new toys to play with. The Secrets of the Obscure Weapons. And they're still in the toy box. And now the new Janthir ones. I mean, it's great. Everything about it is great in principle. Like, a lot of it is stuff I've directly fantasized about in videos for years. I mean, I cannot fault it. It looks brilliant. It's added an excitement to the expansion. But as far as doing those spear videos, in theory I should do them. But I don't know, man. What am I going to say that you haven't heard me say when I was looking at the POF Elite Spec streams, or the Heart of Thorns stuff, or the End of Dragon stuff, or, you know, like, it's... At the very least, I would do beta stuff. You know, you'll find coverage of the beta. Anyway, so we now have Nephis as an ally. He's a great commander here, general. He has his sway. He doesn't particularly like us. We got him in a cutthroat way. Kind of demonic, kind of cool, fitting to the setting.
General, glad to have you on our side.
Aether, Her Majesty forced the issue.
Yeah, I did hear that ArenaNet hired someone who used to work on The Sims for the housing. That's an interesting thought.
But it was time.
Maybe. I mean, they could have done any number of arbitrary things.
She tends to get her way.
So I'm quickly learning. I'm pleased to have you as an arrow in our quiver. Your reputation precedes you.
As does yours. What's your read on this situation?
Labris is in a difficult position. She didn't expect to have to defend herself at Eventide's march. I merely suffered defeat here once myself during the Fourth Disquiet. It's not a particularly defensible position. If Ebark is aware...
I like that detail about the Fourth Disquiet. We needed a lot of stuff like that, you know, that made this feel like a fleshed out, fully realized environment. Not just a pink field.
And she will use them. I have deployed Patha, Arena, and Ramses in a horns formation. Striking from the flanks, we will strike the center.
That line there is like very juvenile animated.
With a frontal assault.
Oh my god, what was I going to say? Yeah, so that's my take on spears at the moment. Housing, I've got a million things to say. So like Cottage, they're saying I guess they'll monetize different homesteads by providing different race faction ones. So for example, to get a Silvari one, you need to pay gems. Well again, like Fallout has kind of a Wizard's Vault style thing, you know, where you get the seasonal rewards, but they just had a free expansion and there's a new season, you browse through what you get. And there you get like decorations and shit, or like, as they call them, shelters, which are like mini instances within your house. And it works really well. I would love if in Isles of Janthir, or the Janthir Wilds, I should say, I would love if, like, while pushing through the Wizard's Vault, like, the 1000 Astral score reward was a new homestead, right? Like, if they put homesteads in there, that's amazing. I think that things are priced a little bit cheap in the vault and all that, right? So I don't really know how much gameplay you'd get. But I understand they will probably monetize stuff. I get that. And you're going to see a lot of things for gems, which, by the way, can be gold. So it kind of is an in-game access thing. I get that there will be stuff on the gem store. There's no way there won't be. But I think as long as some stuff is on the Wizard's Vault, it could be pretty good. And especially, I think, attaching new recipes for whatever the new discipline is to elsewhere in the world could be really huge. I also think, I was saying this in...
have established hiding positions. Beware.
I was saying this in the Spud Discord the other day. I think it's a really expandable platform. Like, it's excellent to do just housing here. Fully feature it, but keep the scope, rein the scope in. It's just like housing. It's just some basic, like, furnishings, the homesteads, whatever, right? do what you can, but keep it within that idea. Next minute, and so what's excellent is they put it on a discipline. I think there's a quote that they put on a discipline. I need to find the quote. But I think that's 10 out of 10, because I think new disciplines are excellent values for expansions. Really, really good ideas. So they'll have like their decorator discipline. Next mini X-Pack can be like a Beastmaster discipline. And it's the same fucking thing, except all the decorations now are themed around like animals that you can put in your house. Like ways to get like one of the suggestions I've seen is that you should be able to put your mini pets in the house. And I kind of like that idea. Like when I play Terraria and I build a base, I love putting like display cases everywhere of the weapons I was using like before the previous boss, you know, like you put all just different displays on the walls and doors so that your gear, even once you've stopped using it, it's still kind of like now it's decorating your house. I like doing shit like that. And in Terraria, I'm always thinking, oh, what about my minis and my light pets? I would love to be able to place them down so they explore my house, you know. I think pets and shit are really, really, really cool. And we know that Guild Wars can support at least a few entities walking around on screen at a time. At the end of the day, if it's a small instance for a maximum of 5 players, they can do stuff like that. So I really believe in like pets for the house. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, you should just be able to put your minis there. I don't think I agree with that. Look, I know on a surface level that sounds really cool. It's like when people talk about Polymorph, they instantly say, oh, our mini should be Polymorph. But I think that ArenaNet loses an opportunity if they do that. I think don't do the minis. You can have... Everything that's a mini can become a pet, but I would suggest that there should be another discipline and a new content stream for getting the new animals, the actual pets that live in your house. And hey, they can be full size if you're not doing them as minis as well, which has a bit of a flavor thing too. Like basically what I'm saying is you could have an entire discipline about crafting, air quote, minis, but they're pets for your house. And, you know, low level in the discipline, you get the smaller ones, and high level there's rare ones, and there's like legendary fucking ones. You know, you can get a full-on wyvern in your house, and it's a legendary one. And that, just think about it, right, guys? Think about all the assets they've got, all the enemies they've got. We talk about legendary crafting. There's a new legendary spear coming this X-Pack, right? I forgot I can just do this because of the mastery. That's how much I've been playing. There's going to be a legendary spear, right? We have the obsidian armor in this X-Pack, which didn't really grab me in the end, even though I appreciate it. Fucking think about that. Think about the Beastmaster expansion. You can have a bunch of legendary, like, animals and pets and things for the house. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff that they could do with that. And if they just say, oh, you can deposit your minis, it's over instantly, you know. It's like there's a platform for better rewards, more engaging and enthusiastic things to go for, which has always, I think a lot of the incumbent player base has forgotten this at this point, but has always been Guild Wars' problem, all right? The moving away from the gear grind philosophy and all that, it's a serious problem with the game. Like, what am I playing for? What am I going to do? You bring those elements in, I think you give people a really good thing. The one downside to that, though, right, is housing needs a gameplay hook. Because there's a lot of people listening to everything I just said, and they're thinking, meh, I don't give a fuck about housing. At the end of the day, if this is an ancillary feature, if this is an opt-in, I don't have to ever go there, why should I bother type of feature, like guild halls, okay? People aren't going to use it, and they're not going to care. However, if it's like well integrated into the design of the game, and there are more substantive reasons to go and do that stuff, you're going to find suddenly it all feels really good, because you think you do, but you don't. I really believe in that saying. I know that people pilloried that Blizzard dev for saying it's kind of this famously terrible thing. But I really believe that. I think people don't know what they want. And I'll tell you, you might think you don't care about houses, but if the game was integrated with it really well, such that you were constantly visiting your house, and you were often visiting the houses of your party members before you met up for instances and stuff, there'll be a day where you'll be like, okay, maybe I'll decorate, and you'll be like, actually, this is quite fun. You know, you'll find value in things. You know, there are things to discover about the world and yourself. It's so arrogant to think, I know everything I know about what I want and who I am instantly at what, let's be honest, most people are going to be of a fairly young age playing video games, right? Like, it's so arrogant to think that about the world. There are obviously things you might not think you like the housing thing, but you probably would if it was well integrated into the game. So I think that's the real challenge for ArenaNet and what they really need to think about. When you look at like Fallout 76, you can build houses over like lakes to get water, which you can sell, or over acid pools for unique resources and stuff. You can get certain quests from them. You can get companions in them. You can do a lot of stuff. It's integrated with the other game systems. You know, you can sleep in your bed for an XP bonus. Shit like that needs to be figured out. And the thing is with Guild Wars, they've already tried a lot of times to do stuff like that with like Arborstone, encouraging people to go to various lobbies and whatever. And most of those have been duds. The guild halls as well. You know, they've got like the tenebrous and the shimmering resources you can only get once per day, where you're harvesting from those, and the unique vendors. And they have good ideas, but then they don't go far enough with them. The guild hall is emblematic of that. They do that constantly. Or they just have bad ideas that are just whiffs, really. You know, I always think back to the End of Dragons release streams talking about Arborstone. Like it was like Ruby walking around Arborstone or something and showing off. And they were all so giddy, excited about it, like, ooh, this, and this. And I spent the whole time watching it thinking quite cynically, like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you get a little bit of a rested XP buff at Arborstone. Half this shit tacked onto this mastery is irrelevant. Right? And they didn't seem to quite realise that. So that's what I think the real challenge is for ArenaNet. To sniff my own farts for a second, you guys know I've got like this little fan project that I've been working on for years now, where I'm sort of designing my own MMO, you know. And it's just like a billion documents and spreadsheets and files all over the place. In that, I've got a very robust idea about integrating housing into an MMO, because I think it is a really good idea. And for me, basically, I mean, I'm not going to go on and on in fanfic mode for you guys, but basically, in my imaginary dream MMO, I have a system whereby when you party up and meet for instance content, you do it through people's houses, basically. So when you matchmake or hot join into, you know, any kind of dungeon or raid or whatever the content might be, there's like a holding lobby, you know, while everyone meets up, you know, that like 30-second countdown or whatever. You know, in Final Fantasy, you'll be in a holding pen for a second where everyone just emotes at one another or whatever. But for me, that's like people's actual player houses, and there's a couple of things you can interact with that will give you contextual buffs in the mission that goes ahead. And in that way, everyone's always visiting each other's houses. And in that way, you would be like, fuck, I'm going to decorate this, I'm going to make it look nice, you know? And I do love decorating. I do love, you know, another game that I played recently, I actually didn't get too into it on this playthrough, but V Rising, I think, has one of the best building decorating systems of all games I've ever played. Definitely play V Rising, guys. And play V Rising to see how it hooks in its crafting to like the gameplay systems and the bossing and stuff. It's fucking brilliant.
Well planned.
Excellently designed. And so this is the kind of stuff I think about with Guild Wars. Now it's a mini X-Pack, so it's going to be kind of small scoped, small featured. How far will ArenaNet go? I don't know, but I think it's a very, all they need to do is just be smart. Just think ahead and create a platform for expansion. Now I've just talked about pets and stuff, but there's a lot more things that they can do as well beyond just pets. You can have a lot of different disciplines that do, like they could have an entire expansion based on gardening, right? But maybe when it first comes out with your homestead, you don't actually have too much stuff. Like for the exterior, you get a lot of interior stuff, but exteriors not so much. Well, you have the gardener on the mini X-Pack. Suddenly, you're getting a lot of like value shit, like every mini X-Pack, and they're going to need a lot of value shit because they're coming every year. All right, like this isn't some lofty, conceptual, distant thing I'm talking about. This is shit they're thinking about right now, because Janthir Wilds is in the can, and they're looking at the next mini X-Pack right now. You know, it's next year. So so yeah, I don't know. The housing stuff, I'm very keen on. And you know what? If there's demon associated stuff that makes me come back to Secrets of the Obscure, even though I didn't enjoy the story, I think I might just do it. Man, tuxedo mask with the roses in chat, like, that's a very big effect. I have a little emote on my name as well. I can't remember whether I'm using potatoes or beans at the moment. But yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. I have it on Steam as well. And I always think it makes me look good on the Steam workshop. Probably doesn't mean anything. So yeah, that's the, if you guys want to know the other thing I've been doing a lot of, and I'm only going to talk vaguely about it because people won't really care, but like my passion project at the moment is still modding Stellaris. I spent huge amounts of time just coding for that,
Is there no
making stuff for
limit
this
to
this
your
Let's Play that will
arrogance?
happen one day.
You believe yourself savior.
I'm basically making a bunch of planets at the moment, and I've made a UI and stuff.
To ensure the
I've actually learned
survival
quite
of
a
our
lot now.
people.
Computer sciencey things that I
Strength
never
of
knew
will
before.
to do that which needs doing, no matter the cost. I have the strength. Epoch has the strength. You, an upstart demonling with a cast-off traitor fawning at your side.
Guild Wars 2 could do Genshin and have us invite
would lead
NPCs
us
to
to
homestead, increase
extinction.
friendship level, unlock dialogue and side quests.
I
Yeah, I
will
mean,
not
okay,
allow
guys,
it.
actually help me out here a little bit. I read. Oh God, no! Why? Oh, okay, well that's fine.
You will not allow.
I read on
You've
like day one
always
when the patch
shared
came out.
Epoch's penchant
Didn't they say?
delusion.
Someone in my
Tell
in the
me,
YouTube comments are in
Lance.
Spud. This is
Do
ridiculous.
you
They're just
also
talking
share
constantly, and
his
the boss is going to be dead.
appetites? We do that which must be done. That which the common. Convenient that our survival invariably requires the uncompromising prosperity of you and your king. No, Labrius. I do not believe myself savior. I believe our survival and your prosperity are diametrically opposed. Here, your prosperity ends. Nephis.
Forward.
By the way, can I just say, most of this, there's not actually anything wrong with this dialogue. If it was transplanted to like Crater, a place we cared about, there'd be a bit of investment. But pairing it with an area of the lore and the world building that was just invented out of their arse 2 minutes ago, and we never knew anything about, and the stakes are not well established at all, ruins it all. Like, if you guys are wondering tangibly why you're kind of unsatisfied by some of this stuff, like, never forget that if this actual dialogue, it kind of works if this was the final showdown between Caudicus and Anise or something, you know. And now we're talking about, you know, the people in power versus the common folk being diametrically opposed and all that kind of shit. Like, it could work, but the investment level's just not there. Alright, I assume they'll talk more with Labrius, maybe? Oh man, I've forgotten what I was going to say now. I don't know if I can break this. I'll try. Oh, I got it. That shouldn't hit, right? You missed the Solaris modding streams? Yeah, it's weird for me to think I did do some of those. I actually, to be honest, there is so much I could talk about with code and design now. There's so much I could talk about. I kind of want to do some WP2 content about it. And when this Let's Play happens, eventually, way down the road, it might be a really cool thing to have a series where it's like, okay, here's the mods I'm playing with, and if you're interested, look at this video series. This is how I dev'd them and the ideas behind them. I've been a bit insecure about it for a long time because, you know, how efficient are you really? How well do you know your way around VS Code? What extensions have you got? Shit, like, it's quite vulnerable, right? Oh, 80% of what I do is just copy pasting. You know, the secret truth behind all CS. So yeah, I don't know. Well, I couldn't really get that one, I don't think. I tried to full counter. Yeah, I don't know. I would love to. I think I would like to do that at some point. But yeah, that wasn't what I was going to say. What was I going to say? It's prompted by something in chat, I think. Oh, having your mounts in the stable at your house? That's a really good idea. What happens if we get defeated? I'm actually surprised she's doing damage. When I first played this, I did it in a party, and, you know, I basically didn't experience any mechanics or anything. She just died. Is this actually got a stun on it? No. So I have to full count or 4. I don't think there's any other hard CC. Weakness for a bit of drain on Line Breaker. And that's what we've got so far. Oh, it was someone mentioned Valheim in chat. That's what I was going to respond to.
Traitors!
Yeah, I didn't really like Valheim that much.
Epoch
It was okay,
Pick
but
your bones from his teeth.
I liked the surface manipulation for the building in Valheim. That was pretty cool. I don't think Guild Wars will ever have anything like that. You know, the fact you could actually dig or you could build hills and stuff.
Truly vast.
She is worth more to us alive than dead.
She's too dangerous. I trust your judgment.
Kill her. Kill her now. Peitha?
Peitha, Majesty, she is valuable, and Epoch knows it. This is folly. Every second she lives.
Where you see folly, I see opportunity. Gather our forces. We need an audience. The time comes to reveal our strength. Wayfinder, a moment.
It's your boy Kenny, said Peitha's voice is insufferable. Yeah, look, I did my big rant about it. What needs to be said has already been said. I said that before even these patches. If you guys remember, in the original Secrets of the Obscure release, in which, you know, we're hearing Peitha in our head, back there I was already talking about it, so I'm not going to go on about it, but yeah, I am always thinking the same thing. Right, okay, yeah, Noct helped me out there. Yeah, I started a sentence about in Spud, people said blah blah blah. I got a comment, I can't remember where it was, but someone said, in fact, Noct, I think it was you. I bet your spidey sense was tingling. I think you knew on some level I was about to talk about you. Noct, was it you? Someone said that the actual home instances are being removed. I think it was Noct that said that. Anyway, I got a message that there was a comment from the devs that the home instances were being removed as home instances once homesteads are out. Which sounds like a fucking huge, mind-blowing piece of information, something that people would not like. Because that is literally trading something that's currently free for something that will be paywalled largely. Is that true? So what's the what is the idea there? Oh, you said that and it was a mistake. Okay, yeah, because I felt like that was huge news, and I couldn't believe that no one was talking about it. Okay. All right, Ruby confirmed on the forums that they're not being removed. You had read it wrong. Ah, that's like the sweet irony of that. They're trying to clean up a miscommunication, and it makes it worse. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so like on the topic of like friends and characters in your home instance, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you already have a home in your homestead. Sorry, you already have them in your home instance. Oh man, I've still got on my Google Drive just the most ridiculous, like, huge manifesto on everything I feel could be better about the personal story. And a lot of it's how those characters in the home instances are used. You know what? I cringe a little bit at that manifesto, though. I think it's quite well written, and I think it's quite professional, and it's well formatted and all that, and I've never sent it to anyone or anything like that, so it was really just a way of venting, and it's just whatever. But it is a lot of information. Now, I showed Boots that manifesto once. Like, again, it's a private thing I wrote about all the things I'd love to have been different with a personal story from, like, a structural standpoint. Or what I viewed as... If ArenaNet were to commit to a rework of the personal story, which I think is an incredibly important thing to do, because new players are always coming in and they're playing that first, and it's important to keep that good. Anyway, in a world where they were doing that, what are some good targeted things they could change? But it is a lot of text, and I showed it to Boots once, and he immediately was like, I think he basically, he didn't read it. No, he didn't read it. But he was like, this is too much. He said something like that. And I cringe a little bit thinking of that and thinking about how much text it is. There's a thing going on with Tomb Raider at the moment. Okay, first of all, the Tomb Raider anime is coming out soon. And the Castlevania anime is the tits, and the Cyberpunk anime was the tits, and it's the same guys, so I'm very excited. And if you guys watch The End of Me in Shadow, you'll remember I said, hey guys, I might review the anime, so we'll keep an eye out. Anyway, there was a bit of a controversy where, you know, the remasters came out recently. Apparently a dev of the remasters, I love stories like this, I find this shit so fascinating. How to conduct yourself as a developer on the internet where you can interface with the community anytime. So one of the devs of the remasters was on the Tomb Raider forums, and I guess vaguely knew some of the people that were there. Now let's just stop and consider, respectfully if possible, the profile of a person haunting, I'm going to use the word haunting, the official forums for ancient games made in the 90s that no longer have any first party. You know, the studio that made them's gone and all that, right? What kind of person is obsessively sitting there as an adult in their free time talking about ancient games like the classic Tomb Raiders? And I get the irony of me doing a Zeus LP and doing it myself right now, right? I get the irony, right? Let's consider these kinds of people. What way might they lean? Might they be obsessive? Might they be a little bit nitpicky? Might they have lost some of their objectivity? Might they be a little bit, you know, hyper-fixated? There are a plethora of words we could use to describe the kind of person that might be sitting around on the Tomb Raider forums. So anyway, one of they do the remaster, and one of these people is like talking to the devs on Discord and drops them a message like, "Hey, I hear you're going to do a patch. Can I give you some feedback? Can I give you some critiques? You know, can I report some bugs to you here in this private Discord? Just me and you. I'll just give you guys some stuff." And the dev, who I'm sure is a bit blindsided, but the original comment's quite nice. The dev's like, "Yeah, sure, okay, all right. I'll pass them along to the team." Okay, and then what seems to have happened is over the next 2 months, this person has gone insane. Like, okay, I know many of you are alt tabbed right now. Look back at the stream, right? This thing, you see that flickering? This is unacceptable. Look at that. Look, it's not flickering now, but if I'm unacceptable. Fix this. Okay, this over here, this pixel, fix this fucking pixel. Okay. Oh god, I've clicked out the thing. You see this waterfall? That isn't blending perfectly into that. Fix that. You see this floating effect here? Fix it. Okay, imagine that, but like 1,000 messages like that. Just unrelenting, constant, like, just, but I'm put rudely as well. Like, wow, I can't believe you'd ever do this. Oh my god, this is terrible. And the dev, this poor dev, is just like, okay, so here's the question: how to conduct yourself on the internet? You're just a dev, right? It's just your day job, all right? You don't have to listen to this shit, but you're in it now, you know, and you've opened the floodgates. And so basically, it just spiraled out into this insane story. Look it up if you like. The dev ended up doing like a big twit longer. You know, it's not Twitter anymore. They're not twit longers anymore. But there's a huge thing, this massive Google Doc. You can read all about it, about how like this guy's husband ended up coming in and they started crying, and it just goes on and on and on and on. Trashy, ridiculous, junk food, funny, kind of like obscene video game news about the Tomb Raider remasters that came out the other day, and I was thoroughly entertained by.
Find Tekla at the encampment. She will have contacts throughout the area. We will have an army before.
Because yeah, I think so. Some of you guys in the chat are saying just shut it down easy. Yeah, I mean, yes, exactly. So I don't think the dev is. It's like victim blaming or whatever. But at the end of the day, I did constantly think, you know, if I'm that dev, I probably would have put the kibosh on this a long time ago, you know, but they don't, and then, yeah, so. Next thing you know, someone's called an asshat and Jessica and Peter fired. Oof, don't make it real. Don't bring it to Guild Wars now. No, we get to talk lightly about it because it's not related to us, alright? Don't make it real. But yeah, you know, it was, so there's that little bit of news going on with the Tomb Raider stuff. I bet you the guy made an ATA post after. Actually, it's quite interesting.
In the area, we've got extractor towers here that we need to disable immediately.
Do you know what? When I'm in the open world, I'm muting it. I was a bit disappointed and unsatisfied, right? Because so what you read online is this huge like Google Doc all about the harassment, or like supposedly there's no cherry picking. It's just there is a bit of cherry picking, as you can see. And I myself, I'm very leery about cherry picking. I've got my own story, you know, where cherry picking happened to me. So, you know, there is a lot of information. And throughout this story, it basically looks like the guy's a nutter. And, you know, woe is me to the dev, right? But what was vaguely unsatisfying and disappointing to me, and this is what the real world's like, you know, it's grey, it's shades of grey, there is no true winner, there is no true loser. What's vaguely disappointing is in the thread about it, the guy, the crazy nerd that was nitpicking everything, he actually has a really coherent and really diplomatic and really reasonable response to it. Like, he has a post where he comes across very, very nice, and it's kind of like, I wanted there to be a villain in this story, but there's not really. And you know, he has a really good response to it where he's just, look, some of this is cherry picked, some of it got a bit out of hand, you know, mea culpa and so on. And I was like, couldn't you twirl your mustache or something? You know, this is crazy. Like, now I don't know who to believe. I'm quoting Steve Merchant there for anybody who's interested in that. So yeah, I don't know. For me, this was just like an evening reading a thread, and then, well, not even a whole evening, but that was the last thing I saw. As soon as that happened, I thought, it's too complicated now. It's too much to track. It's not fun, cheap drama anymore. So I don't really know the ins and outs of all of it. All right. So, wait, are we in patch 3 now? No, we're not in patch 3. Patch 2 was fairly meaty, it seems. So what are we doing? Labris fought bravely and lost. She seethed with rage, nearly on the brink of madness, but it was all for naught. Nephis ordered her death, but Paitha had other plans. Seeing an opportunity to rally the Cryptis to her side with a show of force, Paitha stayed the Queen's execution. It was time for people to show the people of Naos that Paitha could win. The Labris and Eparch were not invincible. Paitha had a valuable asset in the weakened, tyrannical Labris, and now she just needed an audience. Okay, so yeah, this is the end. So basically, we've got Eparch's woman, basically. Who is Tekla the Venerable? My understanding of this story is so shallow. See, I feel like a fraudster even daring to criticize or talk about this goddamn story. Because really, I haven't sunk my teeth into it, like, at all. So feel free to disregard how I feel about this, really. Oh, here we go. Here's Tekla over here. Alright, youngling, word of your actions in Nature. Wow, this is the first voice dialogue, voice I've had to provide for the patch. I would ask something of someone of so. I would ask something of someone so capable. What do you need?
Ah, youngling, spare me the briefest moment, will you? Well, less brief relative to your ephemeral span of existence. We must not shape the future without considering the contours of the past. To that end, I ask for your assistance. There are some few of us who recall a time before Eparch's misdeeds altered the course of our culture. But our light dims, and our memories with us. So I ask, will you seek out these vestiges of a bygone age? Some might seem trivial, others inscrutable. But what is more valuable? A hoard of riches, or a trinket of the past that helps mold a brighter future?
I have not done this at all. So this is an achievement here. I mean, look at this. Look at all this shit. I mean, I've done some stuff. Look at all the stuff I haven't done in this expec. Mike, there was something I was going to respond to that you had said earlier. But you said if it's not fun to play, you shouldn't feel bad about not absorbing it. Yeah, but I've got to... Yeah, I don't know. I might be dropping a video about spears soon. I don't know. Maybe when all 9 are out, I might do a video on that. But actually, I talked about spears earlier, and I'm not too engaged with it, actually. Hi, this was not the end of the 2-hour patch. There should be a Colosseum part. Yeah. I think we're working towards it, aren't we?
You must be the one they call
That was an achievement I was procking there.
Paitha sent you, I presume. She has always been clever and headstrong. Tell me, what knowledge have you been sent to rest from my weary mind, youngling?
They surprise you with Eparch in this one. See, that's another thing. I haven't said this. I could have talked about this way back, the previous episode of this LP. I actually don't like Eparch's design either. Look at Deimos. Look at Ceres. There's a certain, like, physicality, bulkiness, size to these entities. And we're talking about the big daddy of those, right? And then they give me, like, a grasshopper man. I get it's a bit of a rug pull and there's some artistic value in that and so on, but it didn't resonate with me. And I think the second, I will see it in a minute, guys, when we see Eparch, I think it really, it gutted this story for me even more. It made me even less interested in the big showdown or whatever, you know. I mean, in a way, it sort of makes sense they would do this. If this is the yin to the Elder Dragon's yang, you know, they're obviously going to want to do something smaller and all that. But yeah, I don't know. The Epoch's design just didn't resonate. I don't know whether in the Fractal there's something cooler going on. One thing I will say, by the way, that I'm excited about us going to see is the Eye of Janthir. Obviously, the next expansion is the Janthir Wilds. There's a couple of references to the Eye in here, I think, or the Masat in here. I need to compile those and figure those out, because they're blatant hints to the next X-Pack. Anyway, I missed it when I beat this story, but apparently the Eye of Janthir is in the final chamber, like, looking at you. I didn't see it. It's quite a busy scene. There's a lot going on. I'm really excited to see this. As this story goes along, that will be a real highlight for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm not going to play it on my own. I'm going to play it right here with you guys, and we'll see it together. We need a way to call all of Nios to listen to Paether at the Colosseum. There are beacons all around us that radiate. You know, people would say magic, like the ones to the east, and Lady Paether and Ramses lit. Epoch uses them to drive his people into the shadows, trapped. So what can I do? Well, find the beacons. As long as they're radiating Epoch's corruption, my kin are too scared to leave their homes. But your device, your heart, might hold the solution. I'm really keen on this resolution as well. Waiting Story's got to be in this next X-Pack. I'm genuinely excited about that story. You mean the Heart of the Obscure? And remember, all the Waiting Story stuff is Secrets of the Obscure lore, but it was launch lore. Channel the raw power of your artifact into the beacons. Let your emotions run raw and pure, so the hatred and fear from the beacons might yet be purged. I can try. Anything else I should know? Even your artifact has its limits. Cleansing the beacons. Emotional magic will take time. And the King's Fanatics will... Like, all the emotion as magic stuff is interesting and intriguing concept, but didn't really have time to cook in this, I think. Beware of any enemies you may encounter.
Once you locate the beacons, Paether will have the throngs.
Yeah, I remember doing this. But yeah, so Kosich says that guy was, you know, the Venerable. He's very old and one of the most ancient entities here, supposedly. Is this going to work? It is, because we have Bond of Faith. Oh, yeah.
Rogue, everything's secure down here. What's your status? That's good news, Major. The General here has been dealt with. See you at the rendezvous point.
See, so are they talking about the new meta there? Or was that the old meta that they're talking about? If I remember rightly, you get an area to search, but they won't tell you exactly where the beacon is. I'll see if I can recall. Wait, what's this special action? Oh, relic search. I didn't realise it could ping to you. Or it's just been long enough that I've forgotten that. Oh, hold on, what? Can we swim down there? I don't think so. This is a cool little environment, by the way. I like this area. And I like the little gathering things you could do in these maps as well. It's weird seeing people join as members on YouTube. Thank you to anyone who's done that. Noftasmos. Yeah, that is a thing you can do. You get a little spud icon. That will appear in any video, by the way, not just on the live streams. It's funny because there's such a culture of, like, doing memberships and subs and stuff for live content, but not a culture at all for the videos themselves. Even if they're the majority of content or the more informed. Right, let's go back down the cliff I guess I climbed up then. Let's just confirm here. Is that on the other side of the door? Oh god, I don't know. It's saying it's through the door now. Oh, it was over there. I just needed to get close enough that it would ping. Ah, we gotta climb the thing again now. It's interesting how this feels like it's a broken bridge, right? I mean, because it is. But when you view that scene from the other side, you get the impression that you're looking at some big, deep building. You know, now it looks like there's some massive structure there, but we know actually there's not. Alright, what it is here, it's just I have to get really close and then it will pop up. There we go. Weird, I remember these looking like fiery cauldrons. I really did. Yeah, like my instinct to use the 5 there is just terrible, because it's not going to do anything. Oh, there we go. Well, oh, wait, no. That's the achievement. Yeah, I'm getting confused here because they've given me an achievement at the same time as the other story step is going on. We are looking for fiery cauldrons. There we go. That's it. Here we are. Well, we make a little bit of progress on that at the same time. They need to explain why the four Themsats faction exiled Optimus, Caliph, Lazarus, Mabon, etc. to Tyria. Why was Tyria a place of exile? So hold on, see, this is all news to me. Is that confirmed that Tyria was viewed as a place of exile for the Mistborn Missart? Well, hold on. The story as I was aware of it, where the Missart were here, the Elder Dragons became a threat, so they shifted out of phase, went to the Mist, whatever, however you want to describe it, or see it phrased. They fled the Elder Dragons, basically. They left the others to die, and they fled. So therefore, yeah, that answers itself, doesn't it? Tyria would be someone being forced to remain on Tyria, like Optimus and all that, and all the Missart we saw in Guild Wars 1, they would view that as a form of exile, because they would view it as a fate that they're just waiting to be devoured by the dragons, right? With no hope. Doesn't that sort of just explain itself? Unless I'm very out of touch with all of this. Because I haven't seen anything in-game yet. I'm not denying it exists, but I haven't seen the place in-game where it says anything about Tyria being considered exile. I mean, it makes sense, but I haven't actually read that written anywhere. Any plans to do a Guild Wars 1 stream at some point before the new expansion pack? It's funny, I think on the last episode of this Let's Play, I was still playing a lot of Guild Wars 1. I haven't touched it for about a month now, though, so I don't know. I was very close to. I have a big script video about a balance patch I'd love to see for the next anniversary. But obviously that's a year away, so in theory I have a year before I really need to put that up. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I get back into it. What happened, it's not really Guild Wars 1's fault. What happened was... the anniversary happened, the 19th anniversary, and I got really into getting my lucky and unlucky titles because they were very close to finishing anyway because I'd done Treasure Hunter, which pushes them up a lot. So I kind of really got satisfied progressing on that. But it wasn't really gameplay; it was all AFK. So it took me out of the rhythm of actually playing. Then immediately following that, or like 2 weeks following that, there was a, and this was around the last episode of this LP, there was a bonus week for Kurzik and Luxon stuff. And what I had been slowly doing was progressing my Luxon stuff, like doing books. And as soon as that week came around, I did Vanquishes. And, oh, it went so fast. It was insane. Like, it was so fast, it was almost unsatisfying. It was like, okay, in 1 hour, I can get the kind of progress that would have taken me all day before. I'm not going to do Neighbor Lag again. We've seen it more than enough times. So I got loads of Luxon progress, and I beat Luxon for the first time ever, which was actually, it's not really a milestone, I think, for most Guild Wars 1 players, but for me, it felt like a real milestone. So I was really happy with that. But then the weekend ended, and what I really want now is Kurzik, but the week ended. And I just sort of, I don't want to do it until another bonus weekend. I don't want to do it. And I can't do Lucky and Unlucky until one of those comes up. I think the next one's at Christmas, which is fucking ages away. So I think I logged in and I was like, what do I do? And I'm sort of done with my Nicholas the Traveller. So yeah, I love the game, but in terms of goals, the goals I was really interested in just suddenly sort of evaporated beneath my feet. Not really. I could grind it manually, I guess. But the other problem I have is, the guild I'm in that game, they're old friends of mine that I'm very nostalgic. And I would never want to leave that guild, right? But it's a Luxon alliance. So basically, I think I have to do double the work. If I want to stay in that guild, and I want to max Kurzik, I don't get the double rates from actually depositing faction. I just get the shitty rates for like collecting Amberite or whatever. I think that's how it works. So I would have to make the decision to leave the guild. And the thing is, I could leave the guild for a week and then just ask to be re-invited, and I think that would be fine. Knowing I can grind all of Kurzak out in a week. But like the really long-term, vague, lofty objective that might take months or even an entire year of slowly grinding Kurzak out, I wouldn't want to leave the guild for all of that time. But in that case, I get even slower value. So yeah, it basically, I can't really do Kurzak until the next weekend. The only other thing that's really in my reach is, I would have loved to have done some PvP, to be honest. Or like the Zaishan title, but it's just too much money. It's since they did a big bot ban wave, I think the Balthazar faction isn't being farmed now, so the keys aren't being farmed, so I think the price has spiked, so that feels a bit weird. PvP I would love to do. I was on the Guild Wars 1 Discord talking to a guy about like an old Ranger Paragon build we used to play, where we would you'd throw barbed spears at people and just keep bleed pressure on the entire team while your pet fucking savages them. It was the most fun bit comp ever. We used to just destroy people. But obviously Team Arenas is gone. Despite the ban wave, Random Arenas is still a bit shit. So, yeah, I don't know. The PvP stuff's... Also, you know, I have all these reasons why I shouldn't really Guild Wars 2 PvP. And now I'm thinking about doing fucking Guild Wars 1 PvP. Like, come on, this is crazy. So yeah, I haven't been playing. Nothing to do. Sorry, during all that ranting, I could have just been doing this beacon, and I totally missed it. Yeah, I think we do this beacon when we're going to see the grand finale of patch 2. And then we'll be on to the most recent content. And it is a short one. It might only be 1 episode, I don't know. I'd like it to be 2. I'm not sure how this Let's Play is lined up in the end, actually. In terms of how many episodes per thing. Do we know why we're going to Janthir? Yeah, I'm not sure. Livia has a little hint. In the epilogue, you'll see in the episode when it comes out, that shit's going down in Kryta. The Eye is apparently still around. So I'm really happy about this thing with the Eye appearing in the next patch, because I was under the impression... You guys remember Season 3. Every fucking thing the devs did, it felt like they were squeezing every story they could just to close everything. Bashing the Penitent was amazing, but clearly just to get Saul, to stop people talking about Saul. The Crichton Civil War, just to get the Cordicus and White Mantle stuff done. Everything was just, get it done, get it done, get it done. Sort it all out, you know, and it felt very like they were closing doors constantly, and it was a real shame. Why isn't this working? What am I doing wrong? I hold... It's charging... Sorry, is he somehow... I'm meant to kill this before it gets in, am I? It's charging. Fuck. It's charging. I just got to keep these things away. Why do they have break bars if they die in one hit? Alright, there we go. Yeah, so, at the end of Season 3, the Eye of Janthir appears. And as I recall, the Eye of Janthir shows you Path of Fire, basically. It's like the most tacked-on explanation for why we go to the desert. But then the Eye just... Didn't the Eye break or something? I definitely got the impression from Season 3 that the Eye was done. Like, the last of the Massart are dead. The Eye is moving on. It's fucking over. No more Massart. Shut up about the Massart, please. That's basically how I interpreted Season 3. Season 3, I will say again, was one of the highlights of the whole history of the game. Season 3 did a lot of really good stuff, and then Season 4 did even more. But it did kind of have this vibe of, please shut up about our Guild Wars 1 stuff. That's how I interpreted it at the time. So the fact that the Eye of Janthir is back in this story, and all that, that's kind of... I mean, I suppose it's... it's natural that this would happen. Maybe I should walk into the wall to put that. In the, oh, we're done with the Elder Dragons now, shit, now what kind of thing. Maybe it was natural that these story elements would come back. But yeah, I really thought that they had telegraphed it was over for the Eye. So the fact that it's still around in terms of like coherence sake, in terms of, oh, they can actually do some cool stuff with that story now instead of just whizzing through it. I really like that. I love that idea. Of course, we are talking about mini X-Packs, and this one kind of whizzed through its subject material. Just stop whizzing, ArenaNet. Just stop whizzing. Tell me something small, but go slow. Titillate me, wine and dine me, then take me to bed. You know, on the MMO story scene, Guild Wars 2 is kind of like the one-pump chump, you know, like... Why am I trying to leave this as though it actually matters? This is, of course, just a part of the meta, and not the story whatsoever. And it feels horrible just swapping to the 0 DPS weapon that has absolutely no attribute investment. It's my fault, it's not the game's fault, obviously. I should just stay on Dagger, Dagger Axe. If you visit Mabon's quarters in the Sovereign of Naos in the tower, the Messiah statue in his room is glowing, is not him. Yeah, at the end of the story, I noticed there were like books and things in all the characters' rooms, and it was really good. There's genuinely a good epilogue coming up. But Mabon's room had nothing, didn't it? Was that it? It was that there was a glowing statue, because I didn't realise that. Sorry, what am I doing? Draw an audience. Oh, just view the vistas. Oh yeah, okay. There's a little conversation we can get out of this. So obviously. So ArenaNet drew a lot of criticism for this. I don't think fairly so. Alright, so look at the fundamentals of a Guild Wars 2 patch for me for a second. You've got bits where they make you go around the open world and explore. And then you have story instances, right? So ArenaNet are clearly trying to shake things up a little bit with the open world explore thing. In fact, they've been doing that for years. At launch, it's leveling. Leveling guides you and encourages you to explore and do things. Heart of Thorns, they gave you masteries. Season 3, it kind of became a bit of an issue again. So they brought hearts back, and they made hearts mandatory as a part of the story, if you guys remember. And then that drew criticism. There's basically this game going on where half the complaints are, I just want to get this done in 5 minutes. Why are you making me play the fucking game? Why are you making me explore? Why are you forcing me to do things? Why are you making me do things? Just let me stand. And then the other half is, why am I just standing here listening to NPCs? Why is there no gameplay, right? They're just... And ArenaNet are like trying to walk this tightrope. And it's kind of a fascinating conversation. There's a lot to get into with it. But basically, they're trying to mix things up a bit here as well, at least in terms of the open world exploration. And so here they're just saying, go press F on vistas. We're not going to make you do a heart, because you bitch about doing hearts. We're not going to make you do events, because you're bitching about having to do events. What about this then? What about just press F on a vista? Actually, I say this drew criticism. Did this draw criticism? I remember this being of note. I don't know what to think about it at this point, because it's basically, this is the most minimal thing they can ask you to do. Is it gameplay anymore? Like, I never saw the issue with being forced to do a heart. Are you playing the game, or are you playing the game? Do you enjoy the buildcraft and the actual experience of walking around Guild Wars? Because if you do, boo fucking who, you have to do an event every now and then to charge a bar. Or are you not enjoying it? Like, I view all those complaints about, oh, I don't have to do events. I view all of those as not actually a problem with having to do events, but that fundamentally this RPG is no longer satisfying people. The exploration, and particularly I think mounts have detracted from that. The way that the actual open world combat plays out, how deep it is, all that stuff, that's actually not satisfying people anymore. The events themselves are not that's the real problem. And when people bitch that they have to do events to progress the story, they've misdiagnosed the issue. And it's ArenaNet's job to realize that the fundamentals of their game are breaking, basically, as far as open world experiences are concerned. So then they just say here, just go do some vistas. And in the next patch, they're going to say go do some adventures, of course, which are going to get a bunch of people mad about that as well. So whatever. So basically, I don't know exactly what to think. What I do think is interesting is to compare it to other MMOs, though, and obviously FF14 is my big point of comparison. And they don't do anything fun there, but no, it's not a conversation there. Do you know what it is in that game? It's literally just wander around pressing F on NPCs. Maybe you'll have a tiny moment where you like defend a brazier or something like I'm doing here. Maybe. But 90% of that game is just this Vista thing. And people seem fine with it. I don't know, there's something about, like, making big games that appeal to the lowest common denominator, that just means they're just so simple. Like, again, I'm looking at Fallout 76 at the moment. The game is so easy. It's so easy, but that seems to be what people want, you know. People just want to switch their brain off and just click a couple of times and watch enemies explode in bloody gory messes. That, I mean, that's like the sweet spot. The sweet spot is to put it as on rails as possible. But you've got the game, the tightrope is make this shit as on-rail as possible, as easy as possible, but still long and weighty. And there's no answer for that except a fuck ton of hard work on content that players are only going to experience once in a game like Guild Wars 2.
Which is why my dream MMO isn't structured like that. It's about re-leveling and so on.
But whatever. So, yeah. I don't know. Okay, and the beacon beside you seems charged too. Indeed, it charged where you've gone. Clearly connected somehow. You have your desired result, Wayfinder. Naos has come alive to listen to the Lady Pather. The Colosseum of the Midnight King awaits. Are there more beacons out there? Likely. The beacons have been around for a very long time. Longer than me, if you can imagine. And he's already very old. Only recently has the Midnight King utilised them for oppression. This is an interesting little mystery. I think stuff like this is really good. A little bit of intrigue. Is it relevant to anything later? Will we find more of these at Janthir and find who built them? I really want to know exactly what we know about the Massart connection to this realm. But hey. Alright, so we head to the Colosseum. We are going to see the big bad boss for the first time here, guys. There was a study released here in the US that basically indicated modern gamers are not playing games with much strategy elements. Yeah, can I just make sure that this conversation is framed in the right way here? I don't think kids are stupid. I don't think that modern children or whatever, or people, are worse on any level. I think if you gave the same media to generations in the 80s, 90s, 2000s already is pushing it, frankly, they all would have been opting for the easier, more on-rails stuff. It's human nature. You're not better for looking for something a little bit more, you know, deep or whatever, you know. You know, games famously started very hard, but that's born out of, like, the arcade nature of trying to get as much money from you as possible when you put more quarters in to have, you know, extra lives, you know. Some things were just inherited and have been getting cut away because it's what people want. But I don't know. I mean, then you look at, like, Baldur's Gate 3, which is quite a deep RPG and managed to be a massive success too, which proves that maybe there is still a hunger and an appetite for stuff. But whether you'll get it in MMOs and big multiplayer games, I don't know. I don't know whether the genre can stand it.
What do you hope to accomplish with this performance?
They need to see that even Epoch's
there's this thing about how
valiant
TikTok and
fall
YouTube Shorts have
and fall.
actually ruined, like
But
fundamentally
also
ruined
mercy
people's
is
attention
given
spans, like young
to the
people.
vanquished.
I don't have any personal real-life experience of that, so I don't know whether it's true or just
This changes nothing.
fear-mongering, but yeah.
They know the power of their true
Anyway, grand
master.
finale. Sorry, let's listen.
All that you prove to them is your weakness in letting me live.
Save your strength, dear. You'll need it to explain your failure to your king.
Power World had good base building.
Children
I liked
of
Power World. Yep.
Bios, you have no need to cower so. Epoch's power fades with every passing hour. Even his queen has failed to carry out his will. The old world collapses around you, and a new one is being...
She certainly talks the talk, does she not? And yet, the people always recognize their one true king.
So here he is. He's tall and he's got,
I've
like,
watched this
thin legs.
farce with
He's like a grasshopper.
amusement, but it's time for the jesters to exit the stage. Honestly, did you think you had earned the trust of my Cryptis? Do any of you trust the words of this charlatan? Speak now if you would follow this child in her outburst.
He's taller than I remember. I thought he was pathicized.
I thought
I was wrong about that. He's alright.
I will make only one offer. Release my queen and you will go free. Kyria will be spared, and you can live in exile there.
Oh?
No! You cannot compromise with these traitors! Not even for me!
It appears we found the gap in your armor.
You will not use me this way. I see now how I have failed you, my beloved.
Oh, the new meta has a better epoch fight. Oh, that's awesome. I will do that. We'll do that on the series for sure.
No longer.
So there you go. The sidebar is over.
Sought a war? You shall have it. Bring your army then. I will devour everything.
See, if you storyboard this, if you bullet point this story, the Labrys thing is pretty cool, I think.
As planned.
But it's too cliff notey as played in game, so it's.
He will marshal every force he has against you.
Have we been shown mercy until now?
Make light if you must, but learn from this mistake before you bring ruin to my people, to your people. Each of us knew the fire we were marching into. It will take more than his anger to dissuade us now.
Oh, if only all generals could have soldiers like you, Ramses. We are not yet ready. We will probe their defenses and wait for our opportunity. I will call on you then.
There's a unique narrative moment if you fail the final boss as well. That's really interesting. So yeah, I like the principle of this thing where she won't be used and she sacrifices herself, and this theme of consumption and destruction. I think they could have played with a lot of this. It's too short. Everything's too short. I have been making the argument for years, alright, for years and years and years, that ArenaNet should expand the story so it's less cliff notey, so you can be deeper, so you can tell these stories through the use of non-voice acted dialogue. I don't mean books and journals and things that people can miss and read out of order all over the place. Just things embedded in the main story that you can click through. The people who are bored and are uninterested in the story anyway will click through it at pace. They'll actually see that as a value. But we need the extra detail. And there's always these twats that come back at me with that let perfect be the enemy of good. And they say, no, it all has to be voice acted. I love voice acting. And it's like, okay, fine. We'll have 100% of it be voice acted and we'll have it be a shallow mess. Yeah? Or you can meet me halfway. Put more non-voice acted dialogue in, text in there. So, and ArenaNet haven't been doing that. Now, there's two reasons for that. One, they agree with the whiners. Or two, it's that they don't have the capacity to write something more in the time that they've got and so on. So I'm really not sure about that. But, yeah, like, I think this was the big loss. This is the one bit of the story that maybe was kind of, could have been nuanced if we really knew Labrys or something. Or if we looked at the nature of the Cryptis in a little bit more detail or something. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that description of Eparch with toothpick legs is quite funny. Also, I find this really interesting in retrospect. Nephis going on, you have awoken him. He'll marshal every force he has against you. Okay, the next patch, guys, actually he marshals nothing against you. It's exploring an empty citadel, and it's a mystery of why he has no forces. So, a little bit of cake and eating it too there from ArenaNet. They're amping you up for a deliberate sort of bait and switch, actually, there, which is interesting to see. So I'm glad we waited till we've played the whole story before we see that. Anyway, here we go. Paither looks off in the distance. Ask your questions. I'll see that they weigh on you. I can see that they weigh on you. How much stronger is this made, Eparch?
The strength he gained from the Queen shouldn't be underestimated. But the greater danger is his wrath. He will care more about killing us than about his own survival. there is nothing that he won't sacrifice for revenge. If we are lucky, he will misstep as a result. But there will be no chance for diplomacy any longer. He will fight to his final breath.
In a German interview, Bobby implied that the Cryptists would have invaded the Black Citadel to alert the Char, but we never saw this again. Why specifically the Char? Why specifically the Black Citadel? Why? Well, just because that's a cool visual, and I mean, because it is. I like the idea of the Black Citadel being invaded by demons, particularly at a narrative point where the magic hasn't been lost on said demons. By the way, another thing I was going to respond to in chat earlier, people bagging on the visuals of the Cryptists. Generally, I don't mind. I mean, yeah, they look messy and, you know, it's Picasso or whatever, but I think it's fine. I'm not too... But again, I'm quite resigned to the fact we're not going to get a bunch of new models and skeletons, you know. It's Secrets of the Obscure, a Guild Wars 2 expansion. It's not Guild Wars 3, Secrets of the Obscure. You know, there's a certain level of reuse that I've become very accustomed to over the past 10 years. And I think that they look distinct enough. I don't know. I never had any glaring problems with that. But, you know, stuff like how the models look it's superficiality, you know. I try not to let it get to me too much. Obviously, the Eparch toothpick leg design is kind of a big deal for me, but I don't know. For, in general, the other stuff, it's not a big deal. Will the Cryptists still follow us?
Some will, but many will see Labrys's sacrifice as inspiring, as a model of devotion that they too should follow. You cannot truly understand their perspective. They want to believe Eparch is the benevolent leader they've been told. Witnessing martyrdom sets the soul aflame. It will be difficult to put that fire out again.
If only there were a big library on Tyria, they could house extra lore, every major update, ... Yeah, but I don't think that's a good solution either. That's still too out of the way. That's an indulgence for people who are already indulging, right? Like, what you want to do is present a good story that wraps new people in. I think whatever improvements they make have to be front and center, Golden Path improvements. I don't believe in ancillary stuff. Why did Eparch, you know, if in a different age, in a different MMO, with content that can afford to do stuff like that, fine. But we're not in that. That's not what the studio is. That's not what the products are. What they do has to be a banger, and it has to be right there. Why did Eparch retreat instead of attacking us?
Eparch does not lack for cunning, but his blood runs hot. It is unlike him to forego a chance at revenge. It concerns me. He has something planned, and we do not know what. We must choose our next moves carefully.
And there you go, Eventide's March. I love the name of the story step, by the way. We get a tale of adventure. A little bit of post dialogue. Are you having any second thoughts?
None whatsoever. My hand was forced the moment Patha came to my door. And the danger Eparch poses to my people has not been lessened since then. Besides, I have been a soldier since your world was young. You will find I am not so easily intimidated.
I'll tell you what as well. Alright, with the voice acting thing. Okay. I'm kind of... How do I put this? I basically think I think media, to me, can be more engaging. And I can get a lot more wrapped up in it with no voice acting. I can let my imagination do more of the work. Text can get away with a lot more stuff than actual acting can do. Something can read on a page quite well and cool, but to actually see it acted out in front of a camera or in a voice actor's booth, to actually hear it, suddenly it's really cheesy. And if your entire media isn't kind of cheesy and isn't kind of extra, you know, like anime, you can't get away with it, right? text is very liberating. You can do a lot of stuff, and you can get really immersed in worlds, and you can get really, like, I personally find that when I'm really into a setting, those big walls of text, they all look very off-putting at first, but once you're sort of sunk into it, it's like any good book, you know, you really dive in, and it's easy. Text is easier, not just in terms of the logistics and paying people and all that, but literally stuff works on the page much better than it does when it's acted out. So I will always just lean on text in the first place. But there's another thing going on with video games that it looks like an accidental thing, or it looks like something that wasn't even considered, but it's actually a major part of the experience, right? When you do choose to do voice acting, you have those hurdles to clamber over that I just talked about here. But pacing is another one. One of the reasons text can work so well is if you want to read a bit faster, if you want to gloss or skim a bit here or there. I think a lot of people aren't cognizant of how much they do stuff like that, and they control the pace of their enjoyment. If you're only vaguely into a certain story, you can still get the gist of it by sort of glossing and going a bit quicker. If you're really into something, you might reread the line multiple times. You know, being able to control your own pace when there's no voice acting is huge. Now, there's something Guild Wars is fucking up with that other voice-acted RPGs aren't. And that's click to skip, okay? Like when I ask Eparch, when I ask Nephis here, would Eparch actually have kept his word? I'm going to be able to read on screen the entire thing, but I'm going to have to sit and wait for his delivery. Now, unless there's some real, and if the voice acting is disparate and irregular, that's very special, and I might really indulge and enjoy it. But if the voice acting is just laissez-faire and common, if it's whatever, and we always having it, a lot of the times, really, I'm just going to read ahead a bit, and I'm going to want to move forwards. And when you like play a Bethesda RPG, or a lot of RPGs that do include voice acting, which a lot of people need the voice acting because it's much easier to get into, right? It's more entertaining on a surface level. So I do think it's important. But a lot of well-made RPGs, you can fucking click and interrupt the guy and just move to the next line. So if you're not too into a story, you can do... the software allows you to accomplish a loose equivalent of what it's like to actually control the pace when reading your own book, okay? And Guild Wars doesn't let you do that, and I think that's what's really dragging it down. You think, I'll meet you voice acting people halfway if you like, but let people click to skip. Sometimes you could historically in Guild Wars 2, but it was clunky because it was like you'd click the next line and it could affect with timings with other things, and when it was multiplayer it was an issue. But none of this stuff, I don't think ArenaNet ever sat down and had a meeting or hashed any of this out. So we have this which looks fine. I'm going to click this and I'm going to get voice acting. That's clearly better than just text, right? But the UX is not there, and I really believe in click to skip, and I think it would have helped. Like Paither's slow as fuck Quaggan voice, fine, give me the slow Quaggan voice, but can you let some of us click through it a little bit, you know? And that's a real shame with this game as well, and it's something I'm constantly thinking about lately. So here you go. Would Eparch have actually kept his word?
Doubtful, but not impossible.
Like, I'm done. I've got the information I need now. I'm done. I'm done.
And for her, there's little he wouldn't have done. But the better question is whether
I get it.
Paither would
I'm
have
done.
accepted it. And that
Yeah, you
I
can't believe it.
believe.
Yeah, okay.
I've seen the resolve in her
Yeah, okay,
eyes.
no other paths.
She
Yeah.
will sit on
Alright,
the
I'm
throne
feeling it.
of
I'm feeling the
midnight,
ambience.
or she will
Okay.
die trying.
I'm ready.
No other paths remain.
There's also not an indication, and I've forever said this from like a Let's Playing perspective, I would love a little ... on the UI that indicates there will be another line of text coming. Knowing what the final box is before it's the final... would be so so liberating. You know, they seem like very small touches, but they're important. And Guild Wars doesn't do any of those. So, you know, there are improvements, but I don't know whether Mini-X backs... I mean, maybe we're talking about Guild Wars 3 at this point, you know? Anyway, so let's do it all again here with Arena. Do you think Paither made the right decision?
Well, maybe this could have been avoided if we just killed Labrys right away. But maybe we'd be in the same spot. At the
Yeah,
end
it
of the
hurts
day, we're
replayability
planning
as
to kill
well.
Eparch.
And yes, I agree, Guild Wars 1 had a
Doesn't
good
really matter
mix.
if he hates us more
Yeah,
or less.
the cutscenes
If
around the main
anything,
story,
we've
the rest of
removed
it is
another one of
text.
Eparch's
I was fine with
generals
that.
from the board.
But again, I don't know whether that
That's
flies in the
definitely
modern
positive.
era. You know, I think you need a bit more. Guild Wars 1's a bit too much. Also, Guild Wars 1 isn't some great high art either. I mean, geez. But yeah, the replayability thing's important as well. Will this affect the Astral Wars morale?
I doubt it. We're a resilient bunch, and facing long odds is the nature of our work. Even trapped here, we've heard what Eparch did to our home. Until we have the bastard's head, we won't relent. They're good soldiers, Wayfinder. I'd reckon the best. We won't let you down.
And look, there's something about this suggestion that I'm saying here, the click-through thing, that's it's like a hard thing to discuss, especially in a pithy way, especially like on a forum, because the instinct to a criticism like that is, oh, this guy just doesn't care about the story. Like, this like disrespects the quality of the story. This is to not get the value. You know, we paid someone to sit in a voice acting booth and voice all these lines. We want you to hear them, you know. It's kind of... It seems like an excuse for people who aren't very interested, but I can promise you it will get people more interested if they can have that little bit of control. I've experienced that a lot in 76 at the moment. 76, like, the new expansion they did, was losing me at a lot of bits, and I was thinking I'm really not that into it. But I could just pick the pace up and get through those sort of bits that I personally was feeling were a little bit weaker until it became a lot more entertaining, and I came away from it feeling very satisfied. The alternative is to just completely mute the game and play Cookie Clicker or whatever, you know, and you will cultivate an audience of people who, like, I have a friend, I think he's totally wrong for this. I think he's completely wrong. He's within his rights to feel this. He's an adult, but he believes he cannot enjoy story in games. He believes games are for gameplay and stories are for story, and there's nowhere that the two will meet. He can't. He just doesn't. He doesn't do them together. But I think he's wrong. I think it's just that he hasn't had a good UI or UX that will merge them together well yet, you know? And I blame Guild Wars 2 partly for that, you know? Because Guild Wars 2's never married them that well. I mean, it's married them reasonably well. I'm not saying it's terrible. I mean, jeez. It is a double AAA game. Wait until Garath hears about all this.
It'll certainly confirm some suspicions of his. But maybe he's right. Don't get me wrong. I'm in this until the end. I owe them my life. But maybe the Cryptus are destined to be this way.
It's not. It's for his own enjoyment. He's not saying for every. He's not like. He's talking about himself, not the product.
And whether we get more backup just isn't my decision. The general marches to war with the soldiers she's got. If that's just us, then we'll do the best we can.
The other thing about click-through, obviously, is it's playtime. You know, it goes back to that discussion I was having a second ago. The fundamental enjoyment of the RPG falls away. People start bitching they're being asked to do events, or being asked to do hearts, or being asked to fill bars. So how do they get a lot of playtime out? They've boiled it down to you just looking at a vista now. Are you happy? Okay, so where do we get the game time? Well, okay, we'll have dialogue, right? People are asking for lore. We'll have long dialogue, and they can't skip it. So, you know, and it's not that there was... You know, and there's one thing, if I could teach everyone one thing about the world as I see it, how arrogant is this, Jesus? But a lot of things aren't born out of direct manipulation and malice. They're just born out of, like, a natural incentive to not change things, right? So they're naturally incentivized to not change. It's not they maliciously sat there and said, we're not going to add click-through because we can extend the playtime. It's not that. It's the chips fell where they fell, and there's no real incentive to add click-through because it shortens patch playthrough in the context of a game where they're trying to get as much game time as possible out of people. So the incentive isn't there, so it doesn't change, right? Even though it would be a positive change. So it's not like they've maliciously, calculatedly manipulated the situation to be like this. There's just not an incentive to do things any other way. And that fact, by the way, is very important to understand about, you know, lots of industries and lots of things that are wrong with the world. It's not there's some evil elite controlling the strings in the way that I think cartoons make people think it is. Anyway, Paether's plan backfired a bit.
It does appear that way, doesn't it? Even knowing how fanatically devoted Labrys was, I failed to foresee this outcome. All leaders make mistakes. I hope that this will be only a setback. We will press on regardless. We must.
Will we be able to breach the Citadel's defenses?
I believe so. When the opportunity arises, there will inevitably be weaknesses, but it may take time to find them. Zekiros has been built up over centuries, both as a symbol of his strength and as a genuine fortress. It won't be easy. Let's hope you're as lucky as everyone believes.
I'll tell you, these streams proper tire me out. Why do I always get on these fucking huge... I don't know if I've ever done a chill stream in my life. Probably some of the FF streams, like in the middle of the story. Jesus Christ. Alright, well, there we go. I don't know why we're talking about every goddamn thing we can. Oh, sorry. Approaching Pathos, she seems lost in thought. She does not speak, hardly acknowledging your presence. Her unblinking gaze trained on the citadel of Zakiras. You know, I'm watching a Let's Play of a game at the moment, and the Let's Player is just so, like, here's what the commentary is. Oh, this is cool. Oh, that's cool. That's really interesting. Oh, that is cool. Oh, I hadn't noticed that before. That's a cool rock. That's basically the... And it's just so chill. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder these people can fucking sit there for 9 hours on Twitch every day. Like... Oh, all right. Well, there you go, guys. So that is that's patch 2 of Secrets of the Obscure. WP stressing over Gabu was memorable.
The situation is tense among our allies.
Spoilers. This is the next patch.
Uncertainty about our next step grows. So too does their anger. I fear that things will worsen without your intervention.
All right. I'll come knock some sense into them.
Or it's like, you guys remember I said I was watching some Tomb Raider LPs the other day. Like, they'll do it as a guide, and there'll be, like, some insane thing to do. Like, some completely mental, like, thing that, like, you would never, ever, ever figure out without a guide or, like, hours of checking. And they'll never mention any of that. They'll just be like, oh, yeah, just hit this button and then just go through this door. Yeah, and then you're done. It's like, well, hold on. What about the backstory of how fucking whack this is? Are you going to talk about any of the backstory? And they never do. Or they're just not curious. Anyway. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Secrets of the Obscure. I will have another one of these soon. Expect plenty of Zeus and FF stuff coming up. Because especially Final Fantasy, I want to get that done. And yeah, as for spears, I don't know. I really don't, guys. When they do all 9, maybe I'll give you guys some kind of really lukewarm, mild take about them. You know, throw the trailers up or something. I'd much rather talk about housing. You'll probably see a video about housing. But to be honest, it's just going to be a lot of what you already heard in this video. So, I don't know. But then a lot of people won't click this or listen to that middle bit. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. To any latecomers, I do encourage you to go back and just enjoy this as it is. And a big thank you to everyone watching the other projects and who have held out for this week, even though there's not been an upload on those. Thank you, guys. See you for the next one very soon. And as we go towards the Janthir Wilds. And in the next part, we might actually see the Eye of Janthir. I don't know. It's a short patch. It's just 3 adventures and then an instance, really. So yeah, cheers, everybody. Take care now. It's good times. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. I'll give you the intro again, the Mr. Modius intro. Oh yeah. If anyone's gonna buy Secrets of the Obscure, wow, if you're gonna do that as well, or the Janthir Wilds, I have an affiliate link. I think it's in the description. It might not be, or on the most recent video. If you do that, it does help me out. I should have mentioned that at some point in this video. There you go. Anyway, thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.